This is an extract from the Leader podcast by the Evening Standard, hosted by me, David Marsland. To hear the whole thing, search for us on your podcast provider. This is how to make a comeback. With a soundtrack by French DJ Laurent Garnier, the Design Museum in London's not just reopening after lockdown, it's just about smashing the doors down with a blockbuster exhibition charting the history of electronic music from Kraftwerk to the Chemical Brothers. The Evening Standard's given it a 5-star review, calling it a rallying cry for club culture, a scene that's been destroyed by coronavirus. The museum's director, Tim Marlow, is with me now. And Tim, after months of being closed, was there pressure on to return with, in musical parlance, a banger with this exhibition?
It's a great question. I always feel the pressure to put on a banger because that's been the model, if you like, for museums, and we have to get interest and we have to generate the public confidence and interest in the institution. But I think you're right, the stakes were particularly high on this one. I mean, I think just the coming together of people, just seeing the staff come back to the museum, it was very emotional for us all. It was emotional for me to come back to the museum when it was empty, but that was tragic too. But I think you get this growing sense of communal need. And so that both amplifies the need to do a great show, but it also encourages a kind of excited emotional response. So far, the people who've been to see it have been quite overwhelmed. When they come out, people say, God, it's like going out to a club, or a gig for the first time in months.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people saying exactly that. The Evening Standard is giving it 5 stars in its review today. How have you managed to recreate that atmosphere inside the museum?
Well, the overall design of the show, which is rather wonderful, I think, is it creates a kind of nightclub ambience. But those galleries, our main ground floor galleries, I mean, they're dark. There's no natural light in them, which part of me would love to have the option, but we don't. But it makes them very flexible, and it makes them anonymous in a good way, that you can recreate anything you want. So actually having scaffolding and dark fabrics and a labyrinthine set of journeys through, which we've now had to condense into just one, does have that underground nightclub feel. You feel like you're descending into the darkness, into the chasm. And then there's various ways of lighting and monitors and DJ booths and discrete spaces to evoke particular cities. You go into a little Detroit area or Chicago area or New York area. And then, of course, there's the overarching soundtrack to the whole exhibition. I mean, you can plug into individual soundtracks, but this is curated and selected by Laurent Garnier, the great French DJ. And then that is visually reflected upon in a brilliant installation called The Core by 1024 Architecture, so these 24,000 LED bulbs respond visually to the rhythms of the soundtrack. And all that softens you up, I'd say, and prepares you, but never fully, for the grand finale, the kind of climax, which is the Chemical Brothers in collaboration with Smith and Lyle, where you go into a space, it's Gotta Keep On, and is the track and is the space. And there's that acrid smell of dry ice, this stroboscope, but this fantastic digital projection where what was initially conceived for a big festival, Glastonbury, is reconfigured as a special installation here. And that's fantastically immersive and overwhelming.
But social distancing rules mean that the one thing that would be missing from that kind of atmosphere of the nightclub is you don't have hundreds of people all squeezing around together with you, do you? Does it feel like you're going through this on your own, though, or do you feel as though you're part of something?
So that, again, is a really good question. It's difficult to say. I mean, so far, my sense is it rather brilliantly mirrors the feeling you get when you're on the dance floor, he says, trying to remember how long ago that was. But anyway, you're very much in your own head and you go into your own bubble, but through the music, and then obviously through your senses, you're aware and you connect to other people. And you get that feeling in the exhibition. So it's both safely distanced because you keep apart from people, and we're only allowing 60 an hour, 15 every 15 minutes. But at the same time, because there is literally a rhythm, an overarching soundtrack, and there's a kind of sense of a pulse running through the exhibition, you do feel connected in that way. But I don't think we would pretend that this won't leave you wanting to go out more and experience the real thing, the nightclub, the live performance. And, we found it tough in the museum world in the last 4.5 months, not knowing when we can open and in what conditions we can open. But, the live performance, music, theatre, I mean, they're still facing existential crisis. So I'm glad that we can reach out to them in this sense. And equally glad to admit they will never substitute the real thing. It just makes me yearn for more of that, but also for more expansive museum experience too. But in the circumstances, it's not bad. And, if we pour a bit of sort of beer around at the weekends and let the floor go sticky and start to smell a bit, we can make it even more authentic, but I don't think we're allowed to do that with health and safety.
But isn't that exactly what you want from an exhibition like this? You precisely want people to go, I want more of this. You want people, particularly now, to remember what it was like and what it could be again.
Yeah, absolutely. And also to have the capacity to reflect, think, bring their own truths or experiences or narratives, look at the options we've given. We're not saying there's a definitive journey or narrative, but I think it does throw open questions, and I think it does provoke. And I think absolutely, as you say, like a good art exhibition, like a thought-provoking architectural experience or design experience, it makes you want to dig deeper, makes you want to experience things in different physical or visceral ways as well as intellectual ways. Absolutely.